Now I know why the rent was so cheap. I had just graduated and was drowning in student loans, you know how it is. 6 different rejection letters from entry-level positions sat in my inbox, and my parents' patience with supporting me was wearing thin. When I found this single-room apartment with rent that cheap, I thought I had hit the jackpot. It was half of what I was paying for my shared apartment, and somehow still within walking distance of downtown. The real estate agent was practically shoving a lease in my face. Now I get why, but back then? I just thought she was having a rough day. Her hands shook while holding the papers, and she kept glancing at the corners of the room during the showing. When I asked about the previous tenant, she mumbled something about a sudden move and changed the subject. But I was just happy to find something I could afford in the city. The whole place was barely bigger than a shoebox, but hey, beggars cannot be choosers. Moving in was depressing, to be honest. Everything I owned fit into a few boxes, that is how broke I was. The previous tenant had left some furniture behind, which I thought was a bonus at the time. There was this beat-up desk with weird scratch marks all over its surface, not like normal wear and tear, but deep grooves that formed odd patterns. The bed would not shut up every time I moved, and the metal frame was rusted in places despite being indoors. The building itself was a maze of narrow hallways and flickering fluorescent lights. My neighbors kept to themselves, hurrying past with their heads down whenever we crossed paths. The elderly woman next door had covered her peephole with duct tape and had at least 3 different locks on her door. I figured it was just typical city paranoia. The first weird thing I noticed was this dark stain on the floor. I had just gotten back from a particularly rough day at my new retail job, and there it was, this gross-looking puddle near the corner. It had an oily sheen to it, but also looked somewhat thick, like old coffee mixed with something darker. At first, I thought maybe it was a leak from upstairs, like dirty water mixed with oil or something. The maintenance guy came to check it out but could not find any pipe issues. He seemed nervous the whole time he was in my room, kept looking over his shoulder at that corner. When I mentioned the stain, he just shrugged and left quickly, nearly forgetting his toolbox. The thing is, it kept coming back. Every single day, same spot, same gross puddle. I would clean it up, and the next day, right back there like I had never touched it. I tried everything: bleach, industrial cleaners, even some expensive eco-friendly stuff my mom recommended. Nothing worked. The stain would disappear while I was cleaning, but it always returned, slightly bigger each time. My friend from work, Sarah, came over one day to help me check it out. She took one look at the place and her usual chatty personality just stopped. She stood in the doorway, keys clutched in her hand, and told me the whole building seemed off. Said the air felt heavy, like it was hard to breathe. Her exact words were, "It feels like something is watching us." She lasted maybe 5 minutes before making an excuse about feeling sick. Told me to get out while I could, that no amount of savings was worth risking my health. My other coworkers said the same thing when I mentioned it during lunch breaks. One of them even offered to let me crash on their couch until I found a new place. But every time I started looking at other apartments, the numbers just did not add up. Between student loans, utilities, and basic living expenses, I was barely staying afloat even with this cheap rent. The smell started getting worse over time. It was not just musty like old buildings get, there was something else to it. Something that made your stomach turn. Like copper and rot mixed together. I had to start doing laundry twice as often because my clothes would start smelling weird after just being in that room. Even my shoes started picking up that smell, to the point where a customer at work actually complained about it. At night, I would hear these sounds in the walls. Probably mice or something, I thought. The building was old enough. Sometimes it sounded like they were scratching around in there, but I tried not to think about it too much. The sound had a pattern though, that is what started getting to me. 3 scratches, pause, 3 scratches, pause. Like something was trying to get my attention. I asked my upstairs neighbor about it once, catching her in the hallway. She just stared at me with these wide eyes and hurried into her apartment. Slammed the door and locked it. I heard all 3 locks click. The landlord just said it was typical for old buildings and offered to knock another $100 off the rent if I renewed my lease. That should have been another red flag, but I was more focused on my bank account than my sanity at that point. Things started getting worse about a month in. That black stuff? It started showing up more often. Sometimes I would come home for lunch and there it would be, even though I had just cleaned it that morning. The smell got stronger too, kind of metallic and rotten at the same time. My air fresheners did not stand a chance against it. I went through 3 different brands before giving up. The worst part of my day became that moment when I put my key in the door. You know that feeling when you just do not want to go home? That was me every single day. I would stand there for a minute, dreading what I would find inside. Sometimes I could swear I heard movement on the other side of the door, like something quickly sliding across the floor. And sure enough, that disgusting puddle would be waiting for me, like some kind of sick welcome home present. My routine became mechanical: get home, drop my bags, grab the cleaning supplies, scrub the floor. Rinse and repeat. Every single day. The cleaning supplies started piling up under my sink: different brushes, various chemicals, boxes of rubber gloves. I even bought one of those heavy-duty face masks because the smell would make me gag while cleaning. Some nights I would lie in bed, thinking about how I would have to do it all over again tomorrow. It was exhausting. Sleep became a luxury. Those wall sounds kept getting louder, definitely not just mice anymore. It was like something was moving inside the walls, scratching and scraping. The sound would start at exactly 3:27 a.m. I know because I started keeping track. My upstairs neighbor said she never heard anything, which just made it worse somehow. Was I going crazy? The dark circles under my eyes got so bad that customers at work started asking if I was okay. I started spending more time at the office, volunteering for overtime just to avoid going home. My desk mate noticed the changes, said I looked tired all the time. When I told her about the constant cleaning and the noise keeping me up, she offered her couch if I ever needed a break. I almost took her up on it a few times, but something always held me back. Like I was afraid of what might happen to my apartment if I wasn't there to clean it. The maintenance guy stopped responding to my calls completely. I would see him in the hallway sometimes, but he would quickly turn around and walk the other way. The landlord kept making excuses, but threw in another rent discount. By this point, I was paying less than half of the original rent, which should have been impossible in this area. I knew I should have left, but my student loan payments had just kicked in. And finding a new place would mean coming up with first and last month's rent, security deposit. Money I just did not have. My clothes started falling apart from all the cleaning chemicals. My hands were constantly dry and cracking, no matter how many pairs of gloves I went through. Even my phone screen got these weird smudges that wouldn't come off after I touched that black stuff. It was like the apartment was slowly destroying everything I owned. The scratch marks on the desk seemed to be getting deeper too, though I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination. The breaking point came when I started noticing the stains in new places. Not just the usual corner anymore, but under my bed, behind my desk, even creeping up the walls sometimes. One morning, I woke up to find my white sheets spotted with dark stains, like something had been dripping on them all night. That's when I knew I had to get out, discount be damned. I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the usual sounds of the building. The scratching had become almost constant now, like background music I couldn't turn off. My mind kept going back to those stains on my sheets. What if they weren't there by accident? What if something had been in my room while I slept? Those damn rats were getting on my last nerve. The scratching had woken me up again, and this time it was louder than ever. The sound was different though more deliberate, more focused. Like someone dragging their nails across wood in a steady rhythm. That's it, I thought, sitting up in bed, ready to throw something at the wall. The digital clock on my phone read 3:27 a.m. That's when I saw her. There was a woman crouching in that corner, that same corner with the black stains. Her back was turned to me, wearing what looked like a dirty white dress, the fabric stained dark in patches. Her long black hair hung down in wet clumps, dripping something that looked too thick to be water. Her arms were moving rhythmically, but in the darkness, I couldn't quite make out what she was doing. The scratching sound was coming from her. Then everything went still. The scratching stopped abruptly. The silence felt heavy, pressing against my ears like cotton. The air temperature seemed to drop 20 degrees in an instant. Slowly, she began to turn. Just her upper body, while her legs remained perfectly still in that crouching position. The movement was all wrong, like watching a doll being twisted by invisible hands. As her face came into view, a smile spread across her pale features. Her teeth looked sharp in the dim light. He. The sound barely qualified as laughter. It was more like air escaping from a punctured tire, but somehow formed into a giggle. Each laugh made her head twitch slightly, like a broken animatronic. Then suddenly, her arms started moving again. This time, I could see exactly what she was doing. Her nails, long, black, and curved like claws, were raking across her arms at an impossible speed. Scritch, 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 scritch. The sound was frenzied, desperate. Dark liquid sprayed with each movement, splattering across the floor and walls. Her flesh seemed to tear and heal and tear again with each stroke. That's when it hit me. The black stains I'd been cleaning every day, they were from her. All this time, I'd been wiping away her, oh God. Every single day, I had been cleaning up her. I could not move. Could not breathe. Could not even blink. Her eyes were locked onto mine as she kept scratching, her movements getting more and more violent. The sound filled the entire room, scritch, 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 mixing with that horrible giggling. Each scratch seemed deeper than the last, dark liquid flying everywhere. The smell hit me then. That same rotten, metallic stench I had been living with for months, but 100 times stronger. It was everywhere, coating my throat, making me gag. The same smell that had been in my clothes, my sheets, my skin. Now I knew what it really was. I must have made some sound because she suddenly stopped again. her head tilted to one side at an impossible angle, that twisted smile still plastered across her face. Then she started crawling toward my bed. Not walking, not standing, crawling, her joints moving all wrong, her fingers leaving dark trails across my floor. The same trails I'd been cleaning up every day. With each movement, her bones seemed to crack and reset, like a spider with broken legs. That was when I finally found my legs. I bolted for the door, fumbling with the lock as her giggling grew closer. The moment I got the door open, I ran. I did not stop running until I reached the 24-hour diner 3 blocks away. I never went back to that room. Left everything behind: my clothes, my furniture, even my laptop. The landlord kept calling about my lease, but I blocked his number. Later, I heard stories about that building. About previous tenants who had disappeared. About a woman who had lived in my room years ago, who had, no, I cannot even write about what she did to herself. That was 6 months ago. I'm in a different city now, with a better job and a normal apartment. But some things followed me. I can't look at white dresses anymore. The sight of long black hair makes my stomach turn. Every time I see a dark stain on the floor, my heart stops for a second. The worst part? Sometimes, late at night, I still hear that sound. That scritch, scritch, scritch. And when I look down at my arms, my fingers are moving. Moving in that same pattern. 3 scratches, pause, 3 scratches. I've started wearing long sleeves to bed. I don't want to see what my nails might do while I sleep. Last week, I noticed a small dark stain in the corner of my new bedroom. I'm sure it's nothing. Just a watermark, probably. But sometimes, when I walk past it, I swear I hear something that sounds like he,